Are we indoctrinated? Do we just blindly believe everything we are taught? Hi and welcome to Flat Earth's Perspective. Thank you all for joining me on the couch. Today we're going to be looking at a video from Patrick Moore, Can You Speak Venetian?
I believe, that we're all nowadays too conventional and too regimented. We believe what we're told and we do as we are told. What I want to do in this program is to examine the ideas and the views of some people who aren't shackled in this way, who are quite prepared to go out on a limb and think for themselves. Now, whether they're right or whether they're wrong is neither here nor there. I may fundamentally disagree with quite a lot of what we're going to hear. This doesn't matter. This is merely a question of personal opinion.
I 100% agree with him. This is why Flat Earth is based in logical thinking, because we are not just settled to what we are taught. We literally went out and logically thought against the controlled narrative. So this is exactly what he's going. I also agree with him, not that everything that people say should be taken as just fact, especially just because it goes against the convention. At the end of the day, it comes out to personal preference on one's opinion. Let's look what they have to say.
Let's take an example. One of these independent thinkers is the Reverend P.H. Francis, Vicar of Stoughton in Sussex, and let it be said at once that he's no amateur. He holds an excellent mathematics degree from Cambridge University. He's taught mathematics for many years, and he still does. One of his theories is that the Earth is not kept warm by heat from the sun.
Well, this is a wonderful part of Sussex, particularly in the sunshine, and I can feel the heat of the sun on my neck now, but of course you don't think the sun's hot.
No, the sun isn't hot.
That's quite an interesting deduction, because I know when I go outside and you can feel the heat from the radiation of the sun on you, you get quite hot. So that would usually deduce the sun being hot.
It's not a hot body. It causes heat, but it's not hot itself.
The sun itself is cold.
Well, cold or temperate, like the Earth.
Well, how does it induce heat in the Earth then? This is what I can't quite get into my mind.
The energy, there's an energy circle as there's a water cycle, and the sun operates that, and energy changes in a complete circle like that. Sometimes it says heat and so on. Now you feel a tree or a bit of wood, a table or anything like that, it's not hot, but you can release that energy it's taken in, and the same amount of energy is released when it's burnt or when it decays as it took in from its surroundings.
What puzzles me a bit is that at the moment I'm sitting here, say in this lovely old vicarage, and I can see the sun, and I can feel what I think is heat on my forehead. It's coming from the sun.
Yeah, just like I say, you can feel the heat coming. So yeah, obviously he knows probably thermodynamics, because he is saying the energy is transformed and transformed. It's not created or destroyed, like the globe model dictates with the Big Bang Theory.
About 13.7 billion years ago, this tiny singularity violently exploded.
But it's interesting to see. I want to actually understand how he gets that deduction though. Where is it getting its energy from though? And how is it giving off the heat source without it being hot? Should be interesting.
Well, now, suppose you had an electric generating station. It doesn't have to be on fire, but you can have an electric radiator in there, and the generating station, which is completely cold, maybe causing heat on your neck.
That's also very interesting. That's very interesting. Just like he says, the generator doesn't need to be hot, but it's actually giving heat to the source because of energy. So the sun doesn't necessarily have to be hot, but it could be giving heat. Although I still see the sun and the heat source being followed by the sun where it is. I mean, if you're in noonday and you're underneath the sun, you are definitely feeling much more heat than where it is further away from you, or if you're under by shade or something. So
look at Daddy's back.
Oh. No. So it doesn't mean the generating station itself has got to be on fire. The idea that the flaming body is dashing all around about the place is complete nonsense. Everybody assumes it because everybody else didn't know. Everybody's afraid to.
That I agree with him. It's complete nonsense that there's just flaming bodies zooming around everywhere in space just because we are taught that. That I would understand. That I would agree with him.
It'd be different from everybody else.
I'm sure that Mr. Francis is right when he says that we tend to accept what we're told. And I wonder if everything now is so stereotyped and conventional that independent thought is stifled early on.
Yeah, this is when the indoctrination comes in. Like I was trying to explain, when we see things taught to us from a child. When you are small, I don't know, everything you see is just globe. And like I was trying to explain before, if you go to a school or a university, they have their set rules that they teach you. They don't teach you to think logically. They teach you how to just accept what they teach you as logic, if that makes any sense.
And if so, does school play a part in the stifling? I decided to ask the boys of Homewood House, near Tunbridge Wells, whether they accepted everything that their masters told them, or whether they were ready to strike out along an independent line.
This should be interesting. Let's listen.
Oh, come on. Yes, I see what you mean. Yes. Well, a good deal of snow around, certainly. I've got some down my neck. Why? Yes, thanks to you very much. Ha ha. Look, yes. Why does snow fall down? It's water freezing.
And it's too heavy to be held up by the atmosphere, so it falls down.
Relative density, guys, disequilibrium. Thank you. Yes, it's too heavy to be held up by the atmosphere, so it falls down. Logical deduction, guys. But let's carry on and see what the actual explanation is.
Why does it fall down? This is the point. Gravity, yes. Now, what's gravity?
What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question.
Do you know? Yes, now one at a time. What do you think gravity is?
Well, it is, as it says, a push or a pull, which makes things fall towards the earth.
This is what you've been told, isn't it?
Yes.
Have you ever tried to prove it? What about you?
Well,
Yeah.
you throw a stone up in the air and it comes down
I
and
know
it
it
doesn't
does.
come down.
What would you say, for example, of someone who said that the universe ended in a blank wall? Would you think this was reasonable?
No, it's illogical. What is what's on the other side?
Do you see the thing that's going on here, guys? You see that they've already been taught gravity is a push or a pull. It's just been fact. I mean, and this was after Einstein's theory, by the way, that superseded Newtonian gravity. Just had to point it out. But yes, do you see what he was saying there? He's literally trying to find out, do they just accept what is taught? So he asked them, now what happens if someone would tell you the universe just ends with a war? Would you accept it? And they all just go berserk, because that's not what their masters have taught them, not what their teachers have taught them.
I'd never say again. What do you think about it all?
Well, if it does end at the wall, what's on the other side of the wall? There can't be just nothing. There's got to be something.
It's actually a very good question. If it does have a wall, what would be on the other side of the wall? This is a conundrum that follows the Big Bang Theory and the universe, because it's expanding. What is it expanding into? You require something to be there for it to expand into. Ever thought of that?
See, on the other hand, if on the other hand the universe doesn't end, then it's got to go on forever, hasn't it? Well, can you imagine that?
No.
Of course you can't.
Also, something very interesting. Why is it if the universe can just expand forever and ever, why is it then preposterous to say the flat Earth can expand forever? The waters can just go on for infinity. But it's not a problem for the globe to say the universe is expanding constantly. That to me is very hypocritical, actually, because that just means you are going against someone else that has a different deduction logic than yourself. Is it fair to say, sorry, it's just nonsensical to have an infinite plane or water for a flat Earth, but it is logical to have an ever-expanding universe that's expanding into nothing? When last has anybody ever observed having nothing and expanding into it? You first require something to exist before it can expand into it. That's how reality works. And therefore, an infinite expanding universe is simply a contradiction to reality.
Do Do you ever question this? I mean, do you ever think that everything that we are taught, I'm not talking about religion at the moment, everything that we are taught about science particularly, just could be wrong, and there may be some frightful flaw that nobody's thought about? Has that ever occurred to you? Something really fundamental. I mean, in either mathematics or science itself, or anything you like. What would you say then? Any other?
The molecule structure
Yes,
might be
here we are.
wrong.
The molecule structure might be
Yes,
wrong.
I mean, the molecules that we know are based on carbon.
Ah, now, who told you this?
Our science master.
And you just accepted?
Naturally, because I can't think of anything else that it could be made up of.
You see, guys? You see, that's the whole foundation of everything. Who told him? His master. Did he accept it? Yes, naturally, because he can't think of any other else. That's why we get the globers today that need us to replace their globe model when we show it to be wrong. That's why they want a replacement for gravity, or they want a replacement for their curve, or a replacement for space. Just because they were indoctrinated to believe those things existed. Instead of having the mindset, okay, gravity, what would be the implications if it doesn't exist? Why are they trying to push gravity onto flat Earth then, if it doesn't exist? They want us to replace gravity for them, or replace space for them. That's why they have the space pizza disc floating around in space. It's a controlled narrative opposition from the Flat Earth Society. No, Flat Earthers do not believe that. Space is not what you've been told. Space is fake as seen as a vacuum.
I see, what a jolly good reason.
Some unheard of thing.
Very fair. They think for themselves, but perhaps only within certain limits. We must accept some things, I know that, but there's a danger that we're going to turn into regimented sheep if we accept too much. Or have we already done it?
Yes, have we already done it? Turned into regiment's sheep. And that is the sad reality of today. Because why do you think so much people that's gone to universities and have PhDs and whatever, they are indoctrinated to believe it? They've studied all these things, so therefore it just has to be true. Why? Why does it just have to be true? Just because you were taught that it is true? Have you actually gone out and deduced these things as fact? No. Look at the new Artemis 1 so-called missions. They show literally VFX, they show fakery, we show it over and over, and yet they will fight tooth and nail to say it's real. Why is that? Has the indoctrination been successful? In my opinion, yes.
Now, look at this postbox. Nowadays, we're told that if we want a letter delivered in a reasonable time, we've got to put 5p on it, not 4p. And everybody meekly does it, so the price stays at 5p. Whereas if people protested and only put 4p on, the price would bound to come down. Nobody but a sheep would post a letter under such conditions.
And yet he posted.
Closed. It would be, of course, because the bank's only open when everyone's at work and can't get there. And it doesn't occur to them to stagger their hours at all. What one does, they all do, which makes it extremely awkward. Yes, and there's another thing too, you know. What about this question of coinage? I've got in my hand here a 2-shilling piece, a 6p and a 3p bit, and I know exactly what they are and what they mean. In a year or two's time, we're all going to go over to this extraordinary decimal coinage idea, and nobody will understand it. But because we are told to do it, we're going to do it.
Yeah. And that's why we have the blockchain. It's all becoming digital. Have you guys realized how they're starting to throw the money away more and more, going more digital for a reason?
Tracy is in Beijing to show us what a nearly cashless society actually looks like. Ben, good morning.
Here to China a couple of months ago, I kept getting funny looks every time I would pull cash out of my wallet to pay for things. And then I got one of these. It's a code on my phone, and now I can basically buy anything here in China.
Think about it. Later on, when you are so dependent on having this digital currency, if you are not going to conform to the narrative, then you are not going to be able to use your digital currency because it will not exist to you. So you wouldn't be able to buy or anything. You would literally just be on your own in the dark ages.
And then consider bus timetables. In very many cases, independent operators can run services very much more cheaply and very much more efficiently than the official ones, and yet they are not allowed to do so. And so we just go on waiting very meekly for our buses, and sometimes we wait for hours. You see what I mean by that? Driving on the wrong side of the road. Most dangerous. And they're going to try and make us do it in a few years, simply and merely because the rest of Europe does, and I don't like to think what the results are going to be. And I very much fear that I'm one of these sheep already. I've become ultra-conventional.
I believe that the Earth is a planet, a globe nearly 8,000 miles across going around the Sun. I believe that the Moon is another globe going around the Earth, that the Sun is a star, and that the other stars are themselves suns.
Did you hear that? He believes it to be. Not he knows, he believes it to be, guys. Love his telescope though, have to note that. That's quite nice.
And I base this upon what I hope is reasonable interpretation of the facts as I've been told them, and the things that I've seen through this telescope.
He bases them on what has been told to him and what because he can see through the telescope. So he's taking correlation based because of what they've told him, and therefore he has to believe it. Is it really a logical deduction because it is what he's been taught, or is it because it's actually true? Let's go on.
And of course, in astronomy, there's a great deal we don't know, but we are learning more every year, in fact every month. For example, we have now the idea of going out into space with projects such as Apollo.
20 seconds now, we get a loud and clear frame orbit. All looks great.
As the astronauts went moonward, they could see the Earth. And to most people, this new view confirmed that the world is a globe. But
yeah, you see, with this new view, it confirmed the Earth is a globe. You see how they indoctrinate the masses. Now, we show you this footage, so therefore it just has to be true. Anybody that goes against this just means you are dead wrong and stupid. Now, is it possible they could have faked this? Oh, very possible. It's been shown to be faked quite a few times. But why do people just accept it? Well, think about it. If your foundation is built on, this is what space is, we say this is the thing, we're sending people to the moon, we show you footage now that they've gone to the moon, therefore it has to be real. Then why is it we get so much globe believers that also find the moon to be fake? The moon landings are shown to be fake on a daily basis. Any space travel is shown to be fake on a daily basis. Heck, they're not even trying to hide it that it's so fake. But yet you still get the people so blindly indoctrinated, that's why we call them sheep, because they've been successfully indoctrinated to just accept it without any cause. It's literally, this is what you've been taught. Can you see this? Our faith for this belief is strong enough to just overcome any evidence that comes before us.
not to everyone. And while in Apollo 8, the commander, Colonel Borman, mentioned the views of Mr. Samuel Shenton, president of the International Flat Earth Society, who lives in Dover and who believes the Earth is shaped like a gramophone record, with the North Pole in the middle and a wall of ice all round the edge.
Links very much with the statement which was given out by General Boardman, the astronaut. He spoke about the Earth in its early stages. The Earth in its early stages was revealed from the waters, and it was revealed as a four-square fabric.
Like this, in fact?
Absolutely like that.
And this is water around it?
Absolutely, yes.
That's quite interesting. But remember, guys, it's from the Flat Earth Society. It's called control opposition, guys.
Yes, the waters were dispelled from the Earth, and the whole thing was covered by a heaved-up structure, shemihim in the Hebrew, a heaved-up structure actually in water.
What about the astronauts then? If they didn't in fact go round the Earth, what did they go round?
Their track goes across the Earth's surface, yes, so much so that
here. The North Pole in the middle and the South Pole all round.
Yes. The astronauts fired off from Cape Canaveral, or Kennedy as it is today. They went on an egg-shaped orbit over this like that.
Keeping the same height all the time?
Absolutely so.
So he's stating they are orbiting around the Earth, just at a higher elevation, but that's their path around.
Dr. Littleton said that to put a thing into orbit, you carry it up to a height and then level off.
What exactly is this line here?
Those result from the camera photographing the horizon, and the photographs result in these.
I don't know why it's going
events
black like this,
which
guys. I wish I could tell you. Okay.
people are presented with that they think the Earth is round.
In fact, there isn't any South Pole.
No. The 60,000 miles was round the ice barrier, and so far man has not gone across the ice barrier to investigate any further.
Yeah, you're not allowed to go. How much people are getting arrested when they go? I mean, there's footage of people even on the banks of Australia going into so-called territory that they're not allowed to, and warships intercept them and tell them they've got to turn around.
He's just a Navy destroyer. He will yield. Don't be. Nah.
But they would definitely crack the shits.
Yeah, that would be minimal.
Yeah. You are in international airlines. Oh, mate. You hear the machine? Fucking done. Yeah.
It has kind of turned a bit towards us. Tut, 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 tut. Rattle, tut, 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 tut.
No.
Just don't do anything silly. Make it look like we're fucking actually going around. He's turning. Stop. He's turning. He is actually turning.
You said about the ship yesterday.
No, he is turning. Fucking hell, what have we done now? It's turning, Josh, just sit still.
He's slowed down, has he?
Yeah, he's really slowed down. No, we're in trouble.
What for?
Because we were going like that and Josh wouldn't back down. That's coming to us, so let's just...
Yeah, he's going to give us $1 million then.
What, you think they're going to come alongside us and fucking dog?
Yeah, jump up the
well,
side. You know what, he can come beside us. Yeah. Oh, let's get up, that's good. His fucking sound is fucking destroying everything that we've got.
It's coming to us.
It is coming to us.
He's got the shits because...
On by port bow. This is Warship Hobart, Channel 16, over.
16.
Yeah, go ahead, mate. These bad boys. Yeah, come back.
I'm going to get channel 16.
Oh, yeah. Here's 16.
Bad boys, this is Warship Hobart, Channel 16, over.
Yeah.
Although they're still far away from those waters. Why would it be controlled waters around Antarctica?
There's one theory I can think of which was completely wrong, but which nevertheless led to some rather interesting research. And that was the idea that the Earth is the inside of a hollow sphere. So that Australia's above our heads somewhere, the sun's in the middle, surrounded by a crystal sphere upon which the stars are etched, and the Earth extends below our feet infinitely in all directions and rises up like this, so to speak.
Oh, is he a hollow earther? This should be interesting.
Well, it's a fascinating idea, and in the early 1930s it percolated through to Germany, and the City Council of Magdeburg offered to finance a rocket to be sent out vertically to see whether in fact it would crash land in Australia.
They took this idea to the German rocket experiment.
They actually did that. Can you believe it? They wanted to see if it would crash into Australia. Wow. The things people will do sometimes. It's wow.
Just people like Werner von Braun, and they did in fact finance and launch 2 rockets to test the theory. In fact, the first rocket rose to about 10 feet and then exploded. On the second occasion, the rocket launching was horizontal instead of vertical, so the entire thing was inconclusive. Certainly, von Braun and his workers had no faith whatever in hollow globes. But all the same, these independent thinkers did finance some research which...
So, let me get straight. Von Braun thought it could have been a hollow Earth. I never knew that. That's quite interesting.
At the time was jolly useful.
Flat Earths, hollow Earths. In either case, the Earth would be the most important body in the universe. That was the ancient idea, and it isn't dead yet. It also survives in astrology. To the astrologer, the destinies of men are affected by the positions of the planets in the sky. And this implies, as the ancients did, that the Earth is all-important, that everything else is there for our convenience.
Yep, exactly. And that's why when it comes to heliocentrism, it throws away all that importance, all that purpose. It just means we are a speck in an infinite, expanding universe, a dust particle of no significance at all. Everything just happened by chance, and therefore, why do you have to worry? Why do you have to have morals? Why do you care to be happy to be kind to anybody? You can just do what you want. Yeah, that's what heliocentrism actually stands for, guys. It's to go against purpose and to go against morals and to have a creator. Because if you do have a creator and you know you are placed with a purpose, you have a moral ground to stand on. If you do not have a moral ground to stand on, who is anybody to tell you what is good and what's bad? I mean, for that person that doesn't really have a moral ground can just go and kill someone for fun and say, well, to me that's morally fine. That's my moral standard. Why? Because he doesn't have a moral ground to stand on. Because who is anybody else to tell him that that's not morally correct? Now that brings me to an atheist as well. If you do not believe in God and you want to say, well, I feel good when I help someone with this or that, how is that even remotely immoral when it just doesn't mean anything? You just hear by chance. To that person it doesn't mean good, but to you it just means good. What makes your opinion better than the guy next to you? You can't base any morals or have a foundation of morals just because you say it makes you feel good. I mean, you get people that go and murder for Pete's sakes and say it makes them feel good. Now, does that make their moral ground the same good basis as your moral ground that you decided to give someone a bread, for instance, to eat? Just think of that.
It's an attractive idea, and this may be why it still has a large following. I talked about it to Mrs. Parker, who is Secretary to the Faculty of Astrological Studies.
Well, a little while ago, I consulted the daily papers and looked at my horoscope for the week or so, and when you compared the two, they were entirely different.
Oh, of course, this has absolutely nothing to do with the sort of astrology that I'm concerned with at all. That's just fun, pop astrology, if you like. Heaven forbid that one should be associated with that. Of course, one can't possibly divide the world into 12 neat little sections like that. I mean, this is ridiculous.
One thing that always interests me, you say, and I don't dispute you, that astrology actually works. Why? Why should the positions of the planets have any effect upon human destinies at all?
This should be very interesting because, yeah, there's a lot of cults have been built around astrology and everything, so there's a lot of beliefs that go around and mysticism based on astrology.
Of course, this is a $64,000 question, and I must be the first to admit, and I'm sure every logical, every sensible astrologer would say the same, that we do not know. It could be because of the solar system being such a compact unit of space that we are interdependent on each other. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows.
Would you say that your life is really ruled by the stars?
Oh, not at all, no. I look upon astrology as a perfectly practical subject. Rather like a captain of a ship using a weather forecast, if one wants to use it.
I mean, astrology has been used for thousands of years to predict things like eclipses and times of moons, and you didn't need a globe to do this, guys. They based this stuff on flat Earth long before the globe even was a twinkling in the eye. So when the people come and say, oh, but eclipses can be, how can I say, foretold through the time for the future, you're just actually saying you guys are fortune tellers. But like I said, it's been done throughout the history of civilization, way before the globe even, the conception of a globe even existed.
And you think that astrology really can have a beneficial effect upon people?
Oh, absolutely, because through astrology one can learn much more about oneself.
What do you think is the future of astrology?
Oh, definitely with the psychiatrists and the psychologists. This is where our future lies. I'm afraid, as far as the astronomers are concerned, we've parted and never the twain shall meet.
One trouble about the independent thinker is that he finds it very difficult indeed to prove himself right. But equally certainly, it's very difficult to prove him wrong. And if you think about it, you know, you can't prove a negative. For example, I can't prove to you that the sun's going to rise in the east tomorrow morning. I think it is, because all the evidence I have indicates that way, but I can't absolutely prove it. And this is the way all the way through.
And this is why we say the globe is just correlative based. You see, they say this is the proof. We see the sun, it comes here, so therefore it proves the globe. It's not proving, it's literally just correlative. That's why I like to bring up the thing, I see the sun come up every day, I open my window, I know the sun comes up, therefore I'm going to correlatively say, if I don't open my window, the sun is not going to come every day. It's the same as the globe. You look in the sky, you say, oh, we see the sun, therefore the sun is coming from this place, so it has to just be a globe. It's all correlative based and cannot be scientifically validated. Therefore, your globe is just pseudoscience.
And history, too, is studied with people who were in some cases right and in others wrong. Consider the people who first maintained that the Earth goes round the Sun instead of the other way round. People like Aristarchus in Greek times and Copernicus in the 16th century. They were regarded as quite definitely eccentric.
Yeah, it used to be geocentric before they changed it to heliocentric. Now, how did they disprove the geocentrism?
And in the early part of the 17th century, there was a tremendous storm about it, and it even led to a trial in Rome in which Galileo, the great scientist, was accused of impiety. And then coming on to more modern times, what about Sir William Herschel, probably the greatest observational astronomer who's ever lived, and who only died in 1822, but who nevertheless believed that there were people living inside the sun? And then there was Simon Newcomb, a man who did tremendous work in astronomy, and who proved, to his own satisfaction, that the aeroplane would never fly.
And yet the aeroplane flew. Yeah, really odd stuff. Yeah, how do these people prove any of this? Have you guys realized that? How is any of it proved? Did they have any scientific validation for anything? No, just opinion based, correlative opinion based.
In fact, he said that the only practicable form of flying machine was something pulled by a large crop of little birds. Then we had Professor Lowell, a great American astronomer, whose mathematical researches led to the discovery of the new planet Pluto. But he believed that there were canals on the planet Mars, and that Mars was the seat of a brilliantly intelligent race who would cover the entire world with a kind of irrigation system. History is studied with people like this. They can't prove they're right. Equally certainly, it's difficult to prove that they're wrong.
And yeah, they can't prove they're right, but it's equally certainly you can't prove them wrong. Have you noticed that everybody he was actually pointing to here were astronomers? What does the astronomy do today, guys? Aren't they the ones that's literally basing everything off of space for us today? The same people that make those nonsense deductions, like you just heard, are the same type of people basing everything like rubbish like black holes and space evaporating and expanding in all directions all the time. You know, those are the same type of people that said planes will never fly, geese will be the only way to have flight. Yeah.
What the independent thinker has to do is to start absolutely from scratch, look out into the universe, take what he sees there, and then put his own independent opinion on it without bothering about anybody else.
That I agree 100%, because that's what a person does when they come to the flat earth. You start from scratch. Then you look at the information and you see, but hold on, based on this information, I cannot demonstrate the globe. I cannot see anything that I can use to even demonstrate the globe. It's all just faith-based. Do I feel movement? No, I don't. Do I see curvature? No, I don't. Am I able to prove gravity? No, I can't. Do I see things fall? Yes, I do. Do I have an explanation for it? Yes, I do. Can I validate that explanation? Yes, I can. Hence, relative density disequilibrium. You can create a hypothesis and you can experiment and validate it. Now, with the globe, there's not even a hypothesis to create for an experiment. And when they do come up with a hypothesis, it's just correlative. It's not even causative, and therefore it invalidates it as a scientific hypothesis. So I hope you guys actually listened to what was going on today. For all those that understand we've been indoctrinated from birth, why didn't you just sit back for a while? Start from scratch, then do your observations without any bias, and then you will see the earth is not a globe.